The Hawks are back home trying to order up another dub. It's game 6 at State Farm Arena tonight. And Jarvis, you can feel the excitement in the air here in the city. It's palpable because, of course, we've got the Braves trying to sweep the Marlins, and it's just always sweet when they can get a sweep against a team in their division. Then we've got, as we've just spoken about, it's draft time. It's finally here,
So
also
much
known as
going on.
Christmas Day. But
Yes.
State Farm Arena is going to be on fire tonight because this Sunday, just 4 or 5 days ago, Jarvis, most of us thought this was impossible. And now
Right.
here we are on the brink of tying this series up and forcing a game 7. But not only looking at the performance of the Hawks in the fourth quarter, particularly in game 5, but looking across the entire NBA landscape, we saw the Heat, a play in team, the first play in team to win a playoff series in the history of play ins. We saw them take down the top seed. Now, granted, top seed was a little bit hampered,
Of
but
course.
a takedown is a takedown. So they're
Context is
done.
king. Hmm.
Exactly. We
Yep.
Everybody had left the Warriors for dead, and all of a sudden they're up 3-2 in the series. And who would have thought when the Cavaliers did what they did to get Donovan Mitchell that the Knicks would have disposed of them in 5 games?
Like
So
yesterday's trash.
exactly, like, why did you even show up? That's that kind of disposing. So looking across the landscape, looking back here at State Farm Arena, I mean, Jarvis, are you feeling like there's a vibe? Like, the Hawks might actually get this game and force this game 7, and then it's anybody's series.
Wow. It's hard not to, right? Because when you think
Ooh,
about what Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat did, like they were the worst scoring team in the entirety of
right.
the NBA. Like they did not score points. But
No,
when you think
and look
about,
like trash against the Hawks in the
yeah,
play.
they look awful. Like they look sweep worthy going up against the Milwaukee Bucks before
Indeed.
that series got started. So when I think about that aspect of it, because here, but there's the underlying theme here with all of these games and all of these series, right? I just named Jimmy Butler, the dude, right? And who's the dude for the Atlanta Hawks? I think it's pretty safe to say that it's number 11. I
Yeah.
think number 11 is the dude, and he's been proving that he's the dude in these last 3 games. And because the numbers have been off the chart, Steve, the way he's been playing, closing out 14 straight against the Boston Celtics in the Garden on the road,
Yes.
last
That's
shot of the
huge.
game, saying, "Hey," and then one thing that people haven't really pointed out that I thought was just it just really shows you how good this cat can be or how great this cat can be is like people don't know that Marcus Smart, he was coming to double team.
Yes.
And then before the double team even came, Trae understood, like, all right, I know if this dude comes to double team right now, I'm not going to be able to get this shot off. So, you know what? I know it's like 1.8 seconds or a little bit over almost 2 seconds left on this
Yeah.
clock, but I got to get this shot off because I got a good look now, and I got Jaylen Brown on his heels, ready to waiting to see what I'm going to do. So I
Yeah.
think that when you talk about that, T, I guess I'm talking myself into it because initially I was kind of like, oh no, no expectations, no expectations.
Sure.
But
Sure.
like when you talk about that gut and given how things are going right now in these playoff series, like this is a theme. This is not just an
Mhm.
anomaly.
Right.
I really wholeheartedly feel if Trae continues to bring his game and we get something from JC, something from
Yes.
Bogey, and Dejounte Murray comes back with a vengeance, why wouldn't they have an opportunity to go to play in the game 7?
Yeah, I think you all. I think that suspension was really something that. And don't get me wrong, if you think about it, before we started to see playoff trade come back, and even in game 3 when we saw playoff trade return, Dejounte Murray has still been the best player in this series for
Yeah,
the Hawks
exactly.
in the
Absolutely.
series to date. So the best player in the series is coming back tonight. And Trae Young said he's excited about that. He said he can't wait for his guy to come back. The reason I mention that is because that tells me that he's saying, okay, yeah, I needed to do what I needed to do in game 5 to get us to game 6, but we're about to do this backcourt thing once again and show them that we have a formidable backcourt just like they do,
Hmm.
and we can show basketball IQ and accounts because that's my favorite term. And that was such a superb basketball IQ moment for him to see the double team on its way. Double team
Yeah.
hadn't really even set yet, but he
Yeah.
could see the double team coming and even can see, you know what? They're probably thinking I'm going to drive.
Right.
And I'm going to try to go for two and, an and one situation.
Because they're only down by one. You didn't need a 3-pointer.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
what Jaylen Brown said. He was like, they were only down by one, so they needed three. So he thought he was going to go in, try to drive the lane, get contact, and then go to the free throw line to either win it there or to possibly send it to overtime. But when you have the kind of confidence Trae has and shooter's going to shoot and Quinn Snyder's telling you to keep shooting, that's exactly what you're going to do. So, like you said, just want to kind of see all of those things to come together. The only other pieces I want to see, and actually have nothing to do with Trae, it goes back to what you said about the others. I just want JC to continue. 22 points was grand, but even if that comes back to like 16 or 17,
That's fine.
you get me more boards.
Yes.
Exactly. Get me more boards. Get
Yes.
me more
Some
blocks.
offensive
Yeah.
rebounds. Like,
Give some
yeah.
help on the perimeter defense.
Yeah.
That's where I need you to be. So, like you said, every player being able to see, okay, how can I uptick my game just one more level so that I can force this series to a game seven? If that happens, I have no reason not to believe that the Hawks can pull this off tonight.
And and I'm glad you brought up one thing that's going to be really important for tonight as well. Quinn Snyder. Like, the Hawks finally made Boston think. They made them make an assumption. And now it's up to Missoula to make a necessary adjustment because coming off on that pick and roll, those guys have been playing that drop coverage, right? And now that Trae's shot is going, you're going to have to fight through those picks. you can't be doing no switching and all that good stuff. Like, it's going to be some adjustments that have to be made, and I'm very interested to see how they come out, guarding Trae when they do go into that pick and roll, because we know it's coming. The picks are coming. Like, they're going to try to get isolated on Al Horford, and that's been working really well for the Hawks. So I'm really interested to see what type of adjustments Missoula makes, and then the counter, what Quinn Snyder comes up with. I think that's going to be very key for the Atlanta Hawks tonight.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because that was the commentary, or at least part of the commentary in that Bucks Heat game that went to overtime.
Yeah.
Literally, Giannis Antetokounmpo, okay, he's tall, right? So you've got him defending it against the inbound. But where's Brook Lopez? Where is he to be in that game to give you some additional offense and maybe a little bit of defense? But that was the question, right? So that's the decision that Mike Budenholzer made that wasn't the right call.
Yeah.
Eric Spoelstra made the right calls to get them to overtime and then made some critical moves to get them to a win in overtime. That is exactly what you need to get from Quinn Snyder. You need him to continue to play chess, not checkers, when he's thinking on what Joe Mazzulla might do. And then it is incumbent upon this 9-man rotation to then say, okay, Quinn Snyder has said it in the first half. He's reset it in the second half. Now it is time for the Hawks to execute. And that can be from any given space. We don't care who's gonna win it, but I will tell you one more X factor whom I'm looking to have just a little bit of an uptick and maybe get back to where he was in game 3 and even kind of at the beginning of the series, the bench mob 2.0, but particularly Onyeka Okongwu, because he was a little bit quieter in maybe the last couple games than he was in the first few. So he might be a sneaky X factor, not named a starter, whom I think could make a difference tonight as well.
Yeah, if Double O gets going, like you said, and I think that another X factor type guy that I really feel that can make a big impact on this game, and not necessarily from a number standpoint, is Jalen Johnson. I think if Jalen Johnson continues to defend like he's been doing, for the most part, as far as defending out on the perimeter and offensive rebounding, I think that is going to be so key because I'm finally starting to see the whole Quinn Snyder shoot the shot, shoot it. I get it. I understand it because the Hawks, started shooting those bad boys and he started making them, and it put Boston in a situation where they couldn't put them away, and the Hawks kept sticking around. And then, and actually, out there when Trae started to turn into Super Saiyan and start doing this thing in the fourth quarter, it was just like it was nothing Boston could do. So that's what I really feel like that's a key to the game as well. Yeah. Continue to shoot your shot. Don't be afraid, and then at the end of the day, once some bad boys start falling, you're going to find yourself in a position to win the game in the fourth quarter.
Indeed. And I absolutely. I want to see smart basketball like we've been seeing. Spacing has been good. Ball movement has been good. Keep that going. Protect the ball. And yeah, you have more than a shot in the fourth quarter. Now, that's what we have to say. What do you everydayers have to say about this? Our people who have been with us from day one of ATL Day Ones, we appreciate you, and we ask you to just continue to tell a friend about it as well because, hey,
Yes.
you guys have been the ones who have rocked with us, and you tell us when it's good. And not that you've told us that it hasn't been good. So we appreciate you for that as well. But don't forget, always check us out on YouTube. You can actually see these fine fits that we wore to talk a little bit of Falcons draft. And don't forget, wherever you download your podcast, that's where you can get to us as well.